It's good to see you. And do companies generally have this kind of coverage?
Well, good to be here, Kelly. So event cancellation coverage is something that a number of venues and conference organizers and sports teams will have purchased. Now, our review here at S&P Global Market Intelligence, which is the data arm of S&P Global, involved the millions of U.S. state insurance product filings that we have in our database. And what we found in many cases is that these policies include language that specifically preclude coverage for things like epidemics, infectious diseases, and global pandemic as declared by the World Health Organization. So it is very possible that while there may be coverage for event cancellation, it may not cover cancellation in this particular circumstance.
So, which of course means that these event operators are going to be left holding the bag. Maybe in some cases, if it's their main business, they would have specifically had insurance for that. I mean, is this an expensive type of insurance to get generally? Because I imagine it's about to get a lot more so.
Well, that's true. And Kelly, as you mentioned, the expense associated with the coverage goes up the more broad the coverage is. So many policies will offer endorsements, which are basically optional add-ons to the policy, where you can purchase coverage for things like terrorism, for pandemic risk, and so forth. There's also what's called all causes policies, which provide a very broad range of coverage. But of course, those are the kinds of policies you would expect that large companies, that large organizers would purchase. There is recourse, though. I don't think we can paint this with a broad brush because there are other avenues that organizers can pursue to mitigate the losses. They can postpone the event, reschedule it later in the year. We've heard venues being accommodating in that respect. And also the contracts that individual promoters might have with venues could include specific clauses, basically out clauses that may not have the kinds of restrictive language that the event cancellation insurance policies may possess. You know,
it's also, as you're describing what's covered, and now you have mentioned the word epidemic and pandemic, and knowing insurance, my guess is it makes a big difference how coronavirus is categorized. So who do we need to pay attention to for what this is called, and how much could that trigger in terms of payouts or not?
Well, it's very early in terms of how much could be triggered. There have been a couple of examples of companies that have come out and quantified how much event cancellation exposure might entail in the most serious scenario. So Hiscox, which is a global specialist insurer, indicated that fewer than 10% of its customers in its event cancellation business had purchased the endorsement that specifically covers pandemic. Now, companies also may look to purchase coverage that protects them in the event that this doesn't go away quickly, that, you know, if they have an event coming up in the summer or fall, that they look to purchase coverage now. We would look for insurance companies to ensure that their policy language is very specific, as we found in the aftermath of the SARS epidemic and H1N1, where companies put very specific language, not just general terms about global pandemics or epidemics in their policies. They actually use the term of the specific epidemic that was an issue at the time.
In order to avoid it. Well, like you said, the bottom line here is that very few companies even have this coverage. And now if they want it, it's probably going to be a little more costly. Tim